Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the SkillBridge Network. Today, we're going to actually be showing you guys how to use your LinkedIn to find a company to hire you. And you can also use this to do an individual internship through the SkillBridge program. And we can do a video on that later. And who's going to be helping us today is Eric Horton, the transition hacker, very good friend of mine. And he's actually the one who taught me how to use LinkedIn the way I do now for all of our SkillBridge candidates. So everybody who goes through Sales Platoon literally goes through Eric's training. Eric, are you there?
Yep. Hey, good
Hey,
afternoon, John.
how are you?
Good, good.
So you are the LinkedIn guru. I tell every one of my classes that you and Larry Kaufman are the two, and I took your two best practices, and that's how I did my LinkedIn profile. And when we met, I think I was around 3 or 4 thousand people on my LinkedIn, and now I'm at 15. So it's definitely worked, and I'm using it to teach these kids how to get positions at companies they want to work for.
Well, for me, the biggest part of the value, what started the whole thing was, um, I did not understand what it meant when I retired from service, and so I was like, I have to tell everybody how terrible this situation has been, right? Um, it sounds sexy. You're retiring from, 27 years in the military, graduate degrees, certificates. I had all the accoutrements that civilian workforce wanted, but nobody told me what that meant once I would get a hold of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was so arrogant, I was drunk on myself. I was like, look, there's no way a company won't hire me with graduate degrees in supply chain management
Right.
at the mecca of logistics in Tennessee, right? We're geographically blessed in a supply chain manufacturing environment. And then I had all the certifications, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt,
Right.
Black Belt. And I
You
was
have a
like, man,
ton.
yeah, I mean, and so I was like, there's nobody that's not going to hire me. And then I'm worth, this six-figure salary and I'm going to get it. And when I did, that was when it was like, oh my God,
Right.
this is what that means, right? Like I just was woefully underprepared. And so I started to tell my story on LinkedIn and I was like, I've got to tell us, like, we just don't know what we're getting into when we retire from service.
That's
And
right.
so it grew my following to over 37,000, I think it is roughly, just by telling people like, hey, these are things that you need to consider. And over time, the state of Tennessee created a position at the Department of Labor as a director of workforce for the veteran services in Department of Labor because they wanted to try to bring veterans and get them to stay in Tennessee. Obviously, that's a workforce advantage, right, to a state.
Yeah.
But from an economic standpoint, it's even better if they're retired and their VA compensations because they're going to be going to schools, they're going to be sending their kids to school. So it's just a huge second, third order effects of a benefit for a state to economically, cater to veterans retiring. And it was a way for me to also understand and digress, into different pathways and tell people like, do you really understand even, the harsh reality of the salaries? Do you even know what the company's culture is like? And so I started really piecemealing all this together to like, okay, how do we get you connected with a veteran in the company that can really give you the truth and the dirt, right? Not the Instagram filter of the company's motto,
Yeah.
right? But really tell you, are you really qualified by their standards? And a lot of that was another eye-opening and awakening event for a lot of veterans was because I really gave them the truth, man. And the reality of it is, a lot of times as a leader in a company, in a military, you haven't touched your craft in probably a decade in most cases. You've been telling other people what to do. And a lot of times companies just want you to do the thing. They don't want you leading. They want you telling, and they want you to be proficient and technically capable of doing that job. And a lot of times that's another part of the retirees. We just haven't touched that craft in a very long time. We're kind of outdated. And so getting that knowledge from a veteran in those companies was just a part of the process of me teaching people how to use LinkedIn to not only find a job, but have a real conversation with somebody that can be an advocate and bring you and get you at least an opportunity better than if you just applied blindly online, right? So it's a very easy platform to navigate. And it's a very easy platform if a company says they want to hire, how we can find the veterans. And so that's kind of generally, what I try to, leverage LinkedIn as a means to have a conversation with a better advocate that can bring you in a little faster.
Yeah. So talk us through, go ahead and share your screen. Talk us through how, and I'm going to do, I've already done a separate segment on how to set up their profile. So
Mhm.
for you, it's how to use that profile and how to use that LinkedIn to actually get into a company and to use it to get hired or get a skill bridge position.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start off with the basic, right? So generally, when military retires, they usually say they're they kind of self-identify and they put themselves in a pigeonholed position. I'm a project manager, I'm a program manager, I'm a director. And so I usually start with that, right? Let's look at project management positions, right? And you can do this no matter what state, no matter where you're at. And I talk a lot of people through this. It's pretty easy to do this. So what I do is let's just start with project, and you can see some of the searches right now because I do this pretty consistently. So let's start with project manager positions, and we're going to go right down the line, right? So I only use advanced search filter. I always use advanced search filters, but when I start filling them out, I do it this manner, and I'm going to explain it, right? I only do for the past week. I don't do anytime. I don't do past month, and you can do past 24 hours, but I really want to keep it at a week or under. And the reason for that is a couple of things, right? When you see positions posted for the month, your mindset is they haven't filled it yet. But the reality, the weakest link in that, what manages this stuff is the HR, right? HR is the single point of failure at a company to not find your worth because they are really overworked and underpaid. And so in the Army, when you look at it, an HR or a 42 Alpha at a brigade is about 3,500 veterans, right? And there's about 45 to 60 42 alphas in a brigade, right? But if you have a pay problem, those same 42 alphas don't do it. They send you to finance. If you have a benefit problem, like your medical, your TRICARE, they don't help you with that. They send you over to medical, right? Or to the Soldier Service Center, to the TRICARE facility. So in a company, the only person that does all of the hiring, firing, benefits explaining, enrollment, promotions, your payroll, all that is generally between 2 and 3 people to 4 people at the most. So they are way overworked and underpaid, right? So they don't get around to going on LinkedIn and taking down that position they posted. They usually it just stays up until they get around to it. So I say strike while the iron's hot, because the first week, the easier that you can find your way into the company when it first goes out means more likely that you're going to be able to get first seen, right? I don't want to be the first one in the shoot, but I'll definitely do the last week, because the first one, you're kind of missing out on opportunities to do a couple things with your profile, your resume, and all these kind of different things, right? So when I'm looking for the project manager, I want to look for everything posted within the past week only. Now I'm going to go make sure past week. And you can see it goes down, it gets minimized even further. And then I'm going to change the zip code, because if I live, for example, I live in uh, Clarksville, but I'm willing to commute to Nashville because obviously Nashville pays more, a higher wage. Then I'm going to find 37023, which is uh, 203. I think that's Nissan Stadium. Yep. So I drop the pin dead center of Nashville. Now, the reason why I do that is because if you're willing to commute to a location, then if you're outside a good 30-minute ratio or radius of that, then there's a lot less opportunity for your profile to get seen. A lot less recruiters are even leveraging LinkedIn. And so you want to fish where the fish are at, right? So you go dead center of a biggest city that you're willing to go commute to, because then that means your profile is going to get a very wide visibility, right? Now, I'm going to show you something here. So right now, within the past week, 25-mile radius of Nissan Stadium, there's only 324 open positions within the past week. Now, if I minimize, if I was to go to Clarksville, 37042, right, you're going to see that this is going to go down considerably.
It's not actually bad.
And well, it's actually not, but that's still about 100 positions off, right? And
Yeah.
the other part of that challenge is most of these are headhunting firms, right? So these are temporary agencies sourcing, body shoppers basically. They're not real positions, right? Um, and so that's kind of just an example to show you. Um, so that's why I say I just go with the Nashville location. And so going back, now we see that as a project manager, what I want you to do is I want you to say, "Oh, I'd love to work for, any one of these companies, right? ServiceNow." So I do know a lot of these, just from my experience, a lot of these are, again, they're temp agencies, right? So Slalom is a body hunting service. Um, this is another one. They're just basically talent agencies, right? So they're not really hard companies per se. So, but the goal is let's find a company that we think we'd like to work for. Um, and if I'm looking, oh man, okay, so I'm seeing some really, Fortune 500 type companies: Amazon, ServiceNow, Tractor Supply, HCA,
ServPro.
um, right, Whip, Serve Pro, absolutely. I can do something different. I can go over here to company, and it's generally going to take me to a lot of companies already. So it helps me kind of even look at things a little bit better, right?
Right.
So, you know, obviously it's going to pinpoint them again a little bit better than me scrolling through all 326 positions. So let's start with HCA, right? So I'm going to see both positions that are project managers at HCA. So now my goal is okay, I think I'd be a good fit for, let's go with a PM2, right? Let me take a look at the job here. And then I'm going to scroll through the job description. And I'm going to say, which this is going to be beneficial because this is going to tell me how I need to tailor make my resume, right? So this tells me everything, the benefits that they have, but then this is what I want to look at, right? What does the job description say that I need to be able to do? So if I'm looking at this and I can say, you know what, I can do all this, right? I think I can manage projects medium to large size, business operations, scope, schedule, budget. I can look at all that and I can say, you know what, yeah, I think I'd be a good fit for that. So then let's go back over here. We're going to step out of here and we're going to go over to HCA's um, company page. And when you go to HCA's company page, now I can find every employee at HCA, and I'm going to macro this down, right? So we're going to start fine tuning. How do we find the veteran in the company to have a conversation with, right? So let's say, and I only want to be in Tennessee, right? And so now I can see that there's 14,000 retiree or 14,000 employees in Tennessee. I can change this around. I can go Nashville, um, Nashville metropolitan. So I only want to see the employees in Nashville. So there's 13,000. And I'm going to use the advanced search filters again. And I'm going to find every employee at, man, why is this doing it? Okay. I want to use advanced search filters to find every current employee that was prior military, preferably Army, right? So past company, I'm going to say U.S. Army. So, oop, I didn't want that. I need to find Army, not units, right? So, and I'll explain more about that later on. So now I'm looking at every HCA employee in Nashville that was prior Army. And now you can see we went down from 13,000 to 115, right? Now this is 115 prior service that are veterans that I can have an honest conversation with, right? Now I can even do something a little bit different and go up here and type in, because I want to find every other Green Beret at HCA currently in Nashville that is prior fifth group, right? So I can use different language. I can type in fifth group, I can type in Green Beret. But right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a conduit with somebody that is working for HCA that is a fifth group guy, right? Because we speak the same language, and I really want to be able to ask him, how does he like working for HCA? How do you like being a senior, business? I think senior project manager, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and so this is where we start macroing our way into the company to have a conversation, right? And how we do that is I can look here and I say, oh, okay, so Jeffrey is a, MBA currently working for HCA as a project manager. He's a senior project manager. And I can look at, oh man, he came from fifth group, right? All right. So now I'm going to have a conversation with him. And now I'm going to send a connection, and it's going to ask me to do a customized, which I don't ever tell anybody to be a serial connector. I need you to tell me why we're connecting, right? I need you to tell them why you're connecting. What is the value add? And one thing that you can do from this is you get 300 characters. And so when you get 300 characters, I need you to tailor that specific language to them by saying exactly what it is that you want to say to them as the reason why you want to connect and what's your ask, right? What do you want from me? Why are we trying to connect and what can I do for you, right? Generally. So I can say, Happy New Year, Jeffrey. Am transitioning. And again, you get 300 characters, so you can see I'm maxing this out as I'm going through it, right? And see that you currently for HCA. I am considering a project manager pathway as I transition or as I retire.
Did you mute yourself?
No,
Okay.
you can hear me?
I couldn't hear you typing anymore. You were so
Oh,
angry
okay, got
with the
you.
keyboard at first. I could hear you.
Gotcha.
Quiet.
Gotcha. Um, so I'm gonna clean up the language down to let me see here, to get it under that 300 characters as best as possible.
Yeah, take out the end and put
Uh,
the little sign.
uh, where did you see? Oh,
Yeah,
the
two
end.
of them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Oop.
Got three of them.
Yeah. What happened? Okay. Yeah. You kind of work for.
Up by fifth group. And then I would take out the next 2 weeks and just say, do you have some time to hop on a call?
Okay. And that should be take us down to where we need to get out of, right? All
Yep.
right. So now this right now becomes a template. And so you can cut and paste this, send this to yourself, because then what you need to do is now you don't have to, you've already created the narrative, you already created the template, and then now you hit send, right? And so the next part of this conversation is let's go find the other 115, right? So let's go hit the back button and we're going to do the exact same thing all over again. Where we want to find just the prior Army individuals, right? Where, could be different career field, right? Could be maybe just a different HR, it could be, anything, right?
Mhm.
Um, and show results.
You just have to refresh it because you had Green Beret
Oh,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There we go. And I know because we're checked by Zoom, it kind of creates a lag on everything as it updates.
Yep.
Need to get this out of here. Actually, I'm going to hit the reset on that. That's another. I mean, there's a couple different ways you can do that all over again, but that's kind of cool too because it just opens up the door to a different thing, right? We can find every Green Beret that's in Nashville, what companies they're currently working for, um, all that kind of stuff like that. So, uh, why did it not reset my? Okay, so I'm going to start back over. HCA, or let's go back to Amazon and do the same thing with Amazon because we want to find all the other Army veterans in Amazon in Nashville. Let's see if we can find how many fifth group are at Amazon in Nashville or Tennessee in general. And past company. See, I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to do U.S. Army, and then I'm going to show something else because a lot of times what a lot of units are doing now is creating their own LinkedIn profiles. Now, when you create your LinkedIn profile, you don't select fifth group as your job. You want the veteran status to be with the right service,
Yep.
not unit. You can still put fifth group in there, but you'd be surprised that it doesn't identify you as a veteran, right? So now we're in Amazon as a company page. We're going to find every U.S. Army and veteran from Fifth Special Forces Group at Amazon in Nashville. And current company Amazon. So there's 3,400. So I'm going to go back to all filters and I'm going to take off U.S. Army. I want to only see how many fifth group individuals are on here. Instead, take off Army.
Probably five.
So right there.
Oh, look at that.
So
That's
there's
pretty close.
well, now that yeah, so but now this is just those six individuals that chose Fifth Special Forces Group. You
Yep.
still could have a lot more that are prior service from the Army as a service affiliate that were part of Fifth Group that we don't see, and that's how you start getting into the language of doing a search. Green Beret or Fifth Special Forces Group, but in the U.S. Army
Okay.
aspect of it. So, with this regards, now I need to macro that out to Tennessee because this is pulling up from Wisconsin as well, Florida. So I only want to see Tennessee and Tennessee. So that way it gets rid of all the other. And so there you can see there's only one that's listed fifth group on his profile. And so obviously he's a senior operations manager at Amazon, prior Fifth Special Forces Group. But this is the keyword right here. So if I went back to Green Beret and if I added Army on this and then chose Green Beret in the search filter, it'd be a little different. So U.S. Army, and then I typed in Green Beret up here. It's for Tennessee. Might be a little bit more. Okay, so there's two.
Two.
So this is how you find your way into a company, right? Not necessarily directly with the HR, but we can do the same principles to find every human resource manager for Amazon. So we're going to type in human resources. Those are the people that are the gatekeepers at the jobs,
Yep.
right? And so now you can see from a past company standpoint, we chose everybody with US Army, everybody fifth group, right? That are human resources background in Nashville, or I'm sorry, in Tennessee. But I want to say Nashville. Nashville Metropolitan. And I'm going to get rid of this. And then I'm going to see currently there are 28 human resources individuals at Amazon that are prior Army. These are the people that are the gatekeepers for those positions, right?
Yeah, and the
They might
key
even,
here is that you're connecting directly with them instead of going through an automated, you know, AI system that automatically kicks out your resume.
absolutely. Now, and as a part of that, so here is another tool that. So let's just say, for example, we're going to go to Lisa Bribe. Remember that template we cut and pasted, right?
Yep.
We can actually go here and we're just going to cut and paste, and I'm going to do the same thing all over. We're just going to change the name and connect, add a note, and oh, dang. I didn't say, I thought I saved it, but that customized template we just created earlier, we're
Yep.
just going to paste it, change the name, do the same thing. Now, there's another trick that's a little bit more aggressive, and a lot of people are a little uncomfortable doing this. It's, I know a lot of times, remember HR is very overworked and underpaid, right?
Yep.
So I still want to be able to have a conversation with them. And they might not get on LinkedIn that often to see the personalized connection request. So what is aggressive is I'm going to send them that same personalized connection request in on LinkedIn. I'm going to send them an email to their work email. And this is like attacking from different angles, right? I send you a personalized connection request on LinkedIn. You may or may not get it within a week. You may not check it that often, but I still want to have a conversation with you, right? So I need to find what your work email is, and I'm going to use this right here. Control V. Yep. Oop. And then Amazon.com. Now, actually, I do have an account here. I'll just do my LinkedIn. I haven't logged into it in a hot minute. And then you'll see what happens is, and sometimes people are a little bit uncomfortable. I have an account with it, so I would highly encourage you to use this. It's a really good tool. It is aggressive, and some people are really uncomfortable for it. Give me her work email, and there's her work email, right? So same thing. You open up your email. Now you're going to send her a direct email to her office, and then in the subject line, you're going to type in question, right? And I say question because Harvard actually did a study back about how likable and how reliable is a response, or are you going to get a response from an email? And by putting question, Now you can only do this if you're doing it from a Gmail, and make sure you go from or any of the email addresses. Make sure you have your full name, not your nickname, not your GoDaddy 123, right? Make sure your name that shows up in the email is going to be your name, and then you can explain in the exact same email that information, right? Hey
Yep.
Lisa, I saw that you're the human resource manager for Amazon. I'm transitioning from Fort Campbell. I saw that there's multiple positions I feel I'd be a good fit for. I'd love to know more about how I can work for the company or learn more about the culture. However you phrase that email, and then leveraging, you've already taken the time to dissect what that role is, so you know whether or not you meet the requirements. So you send a personalized connection request, and then you go back over and you send an email. And so that's, kind of you're getting the job you want. You're not asking for a job that's already posted,
Yep.
and it's due diligence, right? So roughly from start to finish, when I do a search for a job, and then I see the find the Army veterans in the company, I send personalized connect requests to about 10, 15 of them a day. And then I found the HR human resource managers and I send them emails. Then normally I just wash, rinse, and repeat the next day, right? And what that does is it puts you in charge and in control of what you're asking for, and you know what you're getting into because you've asked the veterans inside the companies, and then you've already reached out. You've kind of, and there's another software that I use, which completely tailors a resume. And I'm going to show you something. Uh, I use all three of these in conjunction with each other at the same time. Find the position. I tailor the resume to match that position. Takes less than 15 minutes. And Skill Sinker. And I'll show you how easy this is. It's a 1-2 punch, where by the time I have the conversation with a human resource manager, um, and I've already tailored the resume to match that job description, and it literally takes 15 minutes to do. And so now you're not only having the conversation with the HR manager, you've already got the resume redone based off that job description and matched. And when you're sending the email over, you also have that resume ready to go, right? So what I like about this is with what Skill Seeker can do is, and I've done a lot of these already, so these are just examples of what happens. So you drop the job description in, you fully upload the resume that you have, and it'll tell you whether or not you're a match for it based off of the wording. So I find the job on LinkedIn, I find the veteran at the company on LinkedIn, and then I find the human resource manager on LinkedIn, and I go right over to the job description and skill sinker, and I tailor make that resume. All four of those steps takes about an hour per job. And so you've tailored a resume, you've reached out to everybody to network, personalized invitation, and you've emailed the people that are going to be able to hand walk that resume over. The minute you do all this collectively together, you're actually finding the job and you have a better chance of success than if you just built you just went on LinkedIn and serial connected with people and you didn't do any homework behind it, right?
Yep.
So that's what I generally do, finding the LinkedIn job first that I feel like I'm a good fit for, and then finding the veteran right service affiliate. So if I'm looking for other Marines, I'm a Marine. I'm finding other sailors. If I'm, Navy or Air Force, whatever the case may be, this is how you go find those other veterans in those companies that you want to work for, and you can have honest conversations. Hey, I see the job's this. Is the job, has it been filled? Is it an internal hire? There's all those different questions you can actually have with a veteran before you get to the HR part and before you get into the tailoring your resume. Because just because you see a job out there means it might already be filled from within as an internal hire. So you don't want to invest all that time and effort into it for nothing, right?
Yep.
Um, but if you know that you feel you'd be a good fit, the job is posted, it is open, you've talked to the other veterans, your next course is to find the human resource manager and, share that resume that you've already, updated. Now, what I like about this is And I literally use all three of these in conjunction. And it's not, I'm making it sound more complex than it is. It's really not. It's literally, let's go over here. Let's find the job, right? I'm going to go right over here. I'm going to see the position. It's going to give me the job description. I'm going to cut and paste it into LinkedIn. And then I'm going to show you, um, how easy it is to start tailoring that resume or that LinkedIn pro. And you can do this with your LinkedIn profile too. So I'm not, uh, doing anything that you can't do with your LinkedIn profile as well. So this is all the job description, right? That's everything that I need to know about that job. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do a new scan. And the good thing is you're recording this, so you're going to be able to go back and rewind this all over. So this is the job listing. I'm just cutting and pasting. I'm going back over here. I'm going to go over to my profile. I'm going to export my profile. You can upload your profile. You can upload your resume, whatever you want to do. You can build a resume off your profile. So this is why it's important to have a LinkedIn profile, because it actually is both. So I'm going to go back over here, export over into a PDF. I get to key. Save to PDF. All right, it's preparing the PDF, my resume, as a download. So I'm going to go back over here to SkillSyncer. I'm going to upload the resume or my profile, however you want to do it. It's going to populate over to what we just downloaded. Now that's my resume, or that's my LinkedIn profile. That is a resume. It's a good format. And it's going to now tell you what match that you are. So based off of my LinkedIn profile, now I'm going to show you something, the way this looks. The way what I'm referencing is actually that profile and how that it can be your resume. So when you build your LinkedIn profile, it actually is a nice resume format from the get-go. And I'll show you that in a second because we just downloaded it. And I'll show you what it looks like. And then I'll explain what this means on SkillSyncer. So when you build your LinkedIn profile, when I say you're killing two birds with one stone, you're building your profile and you're building a resume. This is the resume, right? You can even give it tips. It's got all your cert. It could be a really nice one pager, shows you all of your, every. Now what you can do is once you have this, you can use this as a baseline and trim it up to match that job description, right? So in the military, as a senior project manager, have I ever dealt with, at a tactical command center and saw the dashboards, the battlefield scope, the optics, all that kind of stuff like that, right? This is all of the jobs descriptions. These are hard skills that I don't have in my profile to match what that job description is. So I can actually do a live edit, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to find all of the job descriptions at the times that I was doing wherever I was at, from what time to what time, what unit I was at, right? So if I say complex projects, right? So just to show you an example, I'm going to copy that language and say my role was working with teams and complex projects. And you'll see that the score went up and it checked off the hard skill. So you can see as you go down the line and you start now, I'm not saying misrepresent yourself, but I'm saying if it says it's a hard skill and you find the spots in your resume that hard skill, that job description says that you have done and you've done it, how many times have we built things, at a fob or an outpost or, different stuff like that, right? You can weave these hard skills into that profile. And then it's not hard to get this above 70%. 70% is on average most of the uh, companies use as a discriminator. And this is what discriminates between the cook in the kitchen's qualified or you're qualified, right? So the higher that you get this, your resume and your LinkedIn profile above that 70% threshold means you're pretty much easy enough to, match that career field post service by just matching the job description to your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And then you can see, like I said, each one of these hard skills are really easy because you've done them. You just didn't have you're using the Army language. You haven't incorporated it, right? Have you measured your unit's PT progress, right? Or your company's progress, your stat reports, right? Have you met project timelines? Like all these things I've done, and you may have done, you didn't have the language properly. You just downloaded your, OMPF or your NCOERs or your OERs, and you just cut and pasted those into your thing. So this is why I say it's easy to use all these together. Use Skill Syncer to match the job description to update your LinkedIn profile. So when you build your profile out, how we find the individuals makes it a lot easier for you to find the job, get the job that you want, not the job that you superficially seen online posted and you applied for it randomly.
Yep. Good, man. All righty, buddy. Well, I appreciate your time on this. Guys, listen, if you are looking for a company, the best way to get to that company is through another veteran in that company. And that's why we did this today. I hope that you guys found a lot of value out of it, and we'll talk to you soon.